Good evening, everybody. In case I do not get this posted on the day that I make it, since I tend to create a video and then I'm editing it because sometimes I'm just a ditz and I'm sitting here with too much dead space. But I'm going to try to actually make this one and just post it. Um, I'm I'm here to talk Natalie Cochran. I'm here to talk. My thoughts on that case. I'm not sure what other people may feel, but I've got a lot of thoughts. And one of the things that really irritated me, there was a lot, but you know, today, right? Today was the trial for mercy, which I've never heard of. And it was a hard day to watch because it was like the battle of who's right and who's wrong. The jury has already decided she was guilty. And in my opinion, them stopping the mom from some of the things she said. Now, I do understand that the stepdad and the trees out front were a bit strong, but back in the day, that's what we would say. You know, that's I heard that a lot, and I believe I've probably said it in my time. But one of the things that makes me madder than a wet hen about this entire trial, I'm going to be honest with you, is the children. Putting the children on the stand during the trial and putting the children on the stand begging for mercy. I understand why the children would want to beg for mercy. It's heartbreaking. It truly is just it breaks my heart. But I feel that the worst injustice is still going to be done for a long time because as long as Natalie doesn't accept responsibility for what she did with her children, who obviously, if she confessed to them, it would not change their love for her. Sometimes a parent's hardest thing to do is to look at their child and realize that they weren't actually who you thought they were. And I'm sure that happens to a lot of people and not in this severe of a situation, but anyway. So, I'm going to talk about Natalie Cochran today, but I'm going to start with um, one of the interesting things that I find in a lot of the trials, not all of them, but a lot of them, the attorneys' behavior is what one thinks of the defendant. I mean, my thoughts of this one attorney say quite a bit, and it is reflected onto the defendant because they seem to be a good fit together, if that makes sense. But let's look at some of the behavior in the courtroom. I don't care if the judge was in the courtroom. I don't care if it was a joke. I don't care if the person that I saw do this was responding to something on the other end that we couldn't see. What I do care is for the lack of respect that I see in our courtrooms. I was taught to respect the laws of the land. May not agree with them, may not even like them. Certainly don't ever want to find myself in a court. But if you do find yourself in court, I would hope that your representation would be one that you would be proud to have. One that upholds the law, believes in justice, and knows how to behave themselves in a courtroom, show respect. I I I didn't like that attorney. He was gruff and mean for no reason. I understand he had an impossible job to do, but I also understand that he felt that because there was not a specific bottle of insulin, one would not find Natalie guilty. Sometimes you have to use common sense. When you look at everything else added up, what does it say? The jury got it right, in my opinion. Had I been on the jury, that's what I would have voted. I would have hated to be on the jury that decided mercy or no mercy because I flip flop real big there. Because when you put the heartstrings in, it's hard to not. But then on the flip side, Michael Cochran doesn't get a chance at parole. His sentence is for the rest of the lives of anyone that knew him. So that's what's really important here. And when the defense would get upset because people were talking about when Michael was in the hospital or when he was passing or what was going on and what different people saw, what different people felt, what it did to different people. And to have the defense try to just stop them at every turn was not a good look. Yes, that's what the sentencing mercy request was for. You see, your client could have been remorseful. Instead, your clients and her family still represents she didn't do it. And you guys have that right to believe that. I understand why you'd want to believe it. But just a jury of 12 and then you I don't know, go check out the live feeds at the courts and see what the polls there were because they were overwhelmingly guilty and overwhelmingly no mercy. So it's safe to say that the majority that hear this case would vote guilty. I can understand as a mother not wanting to accept that my own child has stolen so many people's money and taken the life of her own husband. If the federal government would have had proof that Michael was involved, they would have said so. They wouldn't let you persecute her because that would be persecuting someone if you knew they were innocent and you still went ahead. That says a whole lot to me, let alone the physician assistant. They're hands down just, I mean, they're just as precious as a doctor. And then you hear more. Yeah. And you heard that from Natalie Cochran's own, that was a tongue twister, Natalie Cochran's own attorney when he questioned the husband of the PA about the suit Natalie Cochran filed against him. And he wanted to bring that out to make the witness look bad, to make the witness look bad. But instead, what happened was the prosecution, they got to allow him to say why he said what he said. And he never went into detail, but he did explain it was dismissed. And they did explain why and the timing. And it didn't look good for Natalie. Not at all. It looked like she was trying to get back at him because he and his wife were telling the truth. So, when you are a jerk and you put on a suit and you go into a courtroom and you shoot the bird at whoever you shoot the bird at, and you attack the mother of the man that was killed and the stepfather, and you try to tell them what a crappy relationship they all had and it was all their fault when you don't know anything but Natalie's side. Sadly, the children don't know anything but Natalie's side either. And that's understandable. That's their mother, and they're going to believe everything she says. And they may very well walk around with a chip on their shoulder because they feel their mother was treated unjustly, unfairly in prison for something she didn't do. So, to you, defense attorneys, had your client even acted like she cared and even attempted to pretend that she felt bad for what she had done. Instead, 90% of the time that I saw the camera cut to her, she had a holier than thou aura about her with a smirk on her face to say, "Hey, I did it. I got them. They believed me." Hmm. That's what we saw. And then we saw the defense attorneys come in with anger and ugliness to try to save their client. But it gets better than that. I don't really want to spoil things for you, but I've learned some lawyering today. If I was an attorney, I can assure you I learned something I would never, ever, ever do. And that is stand up and plead for mercy for my client with every ounce of being that I have. And the best that I can come up with is show mercy It'll save the taxpayers a lot of money. Yeah, he really said that. Show mercy. It'll save the taxpayers a lot of money. So, first the finger, and then we get into some juicy. I hate to say it that way because it's a horrific case where apparently a very good, loving husband, father, friend, neighbor, coach, son, at 38, he's younger than my children. Well, no, I have one younger than him. He died when he was 38. Actually, I have one that's fixing to be 38. I also have one in his 40s. I can't imagine. I can't. And I can't imagine a mother-in-law thinking by any means that she loved my son more than I do, much less say that out loud. They tried to break apart Michael as a human being, and when that wasn't good enough, they tried to portray his family was people he didn't even want to be associated with. Why should it matter what they feel? Michael didn't hang around them. I don't know what y'all putting in y'all's tea, but the rest of the world ain't sipping out the same jug as you are. So let's get down to here. Now, they've been called in because the jury has made a decision. It's going to take just a minute, so I will probably just let it play until right before it gets there, and then I'll probably get myself off of here so that you can watch what I see. Okay. Y'all just it happens rather quickly. Um, it's a couple of times. You can watch when he's ready to aim that finger. Well, here, I'll hush. Here, let me just. How do I get off? Let me get off of here. There you go, folks. That looks better than looking at me any day, I think, don't you? All right, I want you to pay attention. Natalie sure does drink a lot. So, the dude at the end of the table with the Kleenex right beside him, with his fingers crossed, his hands, he's going to look over at the crudest lawyer I think I've ever heard, and then watch Mr. Crude what he does. He really is ugh. Now watch. I don't know what he's looking at. Don't know what he's watching. Okay, here we go, folks. What? Spots him. Watch his hands. Goes to the nose, and then pretends, and they're kind of snickering. All right. What was that? What was that? Is that courtroom decorum? Is that how one should behave? I don't I don't know, folks. I don't know. So there we have it. Well, I can't figure out which. I don't. I don't know how to. I'm sitting here pointing at my computer screen. My bangs are bothering me. See, I trim my own bangs, and they're kind of got a curl to them, but they're not really. They look like they're anyway. I may need to go have somebody fix them, but they really are okay. I could cut them shorter, and I have really dark eyebrows, and I tend to arch them a lot, so they're up there in them bangs. Okay, now the next thing that I wanted to do, I'm just in awe. So this is right before. I mean, the judge is not in the room yet because they have not stood up. Okay, so I know some people have said, "Oh, he did that to the jury," but the jury wasn't in the room either. Whatever, whoever he did that to, I don't care. You're in a courtroom, dude. You, sir, are an attorney and are supposed to have some respect for the court. You want to shoot the bird? You go shoot the bird anywhere else, but not in the judicial system. I mean, it's got enough problems in its own. So, we're going to sit here all smug, aren't we? But that's what we have. That I mean that right there. That just burned me up. Burned me up. So, I'm going to leave that part here and I shall make a few more because I've got more to say. Bye.